Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our journey, our discussions, our discoveries, and our explorations with respect to the recent releases made by the Criterion Collection during this year of 2022. And specifically, I'd like to talk about a work which might be found in this brilliant release, this box set released by Criterion earlier in the year, this set being Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project number 4. There are a lot of films in this great set, one of which being that film which is designated by Criterion at spy number 1148. And this is a work which is described as being from the year 1948. And the filmmaker is Uday Shankar. And the name of the work is KALPANA. This is the work from the year 1948, and it is from the filmmaker Uday Shankar. And when we're talking about the cast and performers and artists and actors, also we note that Uday Shankar also features in this film as well as Amala Shankar and others. This is the work which is, again, credited to Uday Shankar, produced, director, and writer Uday Shankar. This is the work which is KALPANA. And according to many sources, some of the supplements that are found linked with this film, as well as the great essay, and we'll talk about those a little bit later in this discussion, the phrase KALPANA is, according to, for example, page 57 of the essay, the booklet essay, KALPANA is a Sanskrit word which has multiple meanings in English, such as imagination, fantasy, desire, idea, decree, myth, and dream being some of the possible translations. And I think those and many other words are so helpful in perhaps trying to describe what Kalpana is. And it is so many things at once. I think one way to describe it would be as a type of coming-of-age story, in a manner of speaking, because we do see the life or trajectory of a child or an artist, a young artist, as a young man who then tries to say harness his artistic, say, passions and inspirations and desires in the form of, say, expressions of dance and theater and art and performance, while at the same time seeing how this, say, exploration or trajectory or journey has an interesting impact on the people around him and the relationships that he has with many of the key figures in his life, including the character portrayed by Amala Shankar and others. So this is, again, a very interesting coming-of-age story set against the backdrop of theater and art and performance and dance. That's one way I think of looking at this film, Kalpana. It's also, in many ways, too, a surreal and very almost ethereal portrait of the art form of dance itself in a very fresh and vibrant way that shows the uniqueness and the power of spectacle, as well as the power and triumph and depth of art and soul that can be found contained within these dances themselves, and the movement and art and physical energy and stamina required to create these wonderful numbers brought to life on screen for all eternity now, thanks to great restorations like this can be found in the World Cinema Project here. So in this way too, it is a reflection of the dance and art and performance philosophy of Shankar and others, because as we know from the supplements and the essay, this is also in many ways a reflection of Shankar's own, say, philosophy and a school of thought when it comes to dance, and indeed modern dance, and the way in which his form and style of modern dance is many ways to see was seen to be quite revolutionary in the way in which it captured aspects of modern dance while also preserving and protecting and holding up in a great, lovely, and respectful way certain traditional forms of dance to create uh, the uh, the the numbers and the feel and atmosphere and scope and breadth that we see engaged with or captured in a lot of the dance numbers and a lot of the musical numbers that we see in full display, in wonderful, glorious full display in this work, Kalpana. So this is also very important to the role of performative art or modern dance, ballet, and the like. And again, we see how this is in many ways, therefore, a type of autobiographical film in many respects. We're reminded of this too because of the direct appearance of Shankar, and also we're reminded this too about how, in many ways, this establishment of the school, the dance school, that's part of the plot, or could be said to be a type of mirror or parallel to Shankar's own efforts in his real life, and also how this captures dance and performance and art and poetry in a way that could be said to be paralleling his own philosophy when it comes to his own feelings and viewpoints and philosophies on dance, dance school training, etc. So, in many ways, this is a very biographical or autobiographical work in many respects, while at the same time being such a great spectacle of cinema, because we see the film and we see how it swirls or swerves or intersects or collides in this great confrontational way with various forms of, say, storytelling and structure. Sometimes it might be seen to be very, and I mean this in a very positive way, it might be seen to be relying on quote unquote traditional norms of the theatrical performance. I mean, there are moments when the film, I think, very purposefully tries to rely on set and set construction and set design, and that also includes the staging and positioning of the actors within the confines of these particular sets. And it's done in a way that I think is calling attention to the art of storytelling itself on the one hand. That's not the only tradition of storytelling that seems to be relied upon. There are also ways in which this film uh, almost glides in and out, almost breaking perspective, almost winking at the audience in a way, almost giving us a sense of the glide of the surreal, and how dance seems to be almost a type of this transformative experience or transcendental experience that seems in many ways to sort of leap off the frame and create the sense of malleable celluloid whose ambition is matched by the dream or passion of those performers that we see part of Kalpana, including, of course, Shankar himself. And so there might be, therein lies perhaps some certain ways in which the derivation or the connections and the ways in which one can translate the word Kalpana into English, such as imagination, and such as desire, etc., I think come to the fold in a really remarkable way, because this film does have a way of showing almost the malleable creative spirit of cinema itself in a way that shows multi levels, many various levels. I mean, it has a great theatrical base, and it has a way in which it cross cuts or maybe cross figures this base to create this sense of a multi-dimensionality to the whole film experience or the viewing experience of Kalpana itself. And you get a sense of this too, because it's almost like it's almost in a way it has this emotional, almost 3D effect to it. It is that absorbing. It has this way of being very hallucinatory on the one hand and being very surreal on the other. I think a phrase that's used perhaps also is avant-garde, which I think has a very appropriate place in terms of the positioning of description of this. But that is also a way to say that it is at once maybe a coming of age story. It is also an expression of art and dance and theater. It is also in many ways almost uncategorizable, if that's a phrase, in terms of how I think it fits into many different compartments at once, thus creating a full-bodied experience for all the senses when one is watching this film, Kalpana. And my goodness, let me say that again. This is a real full-bodied experience for the senses. It really is, while showing us a tale that is, I think, very true to form, true to heart. There is a tender, emotional story at its core that has to do with struggle, that has to do with emotional, personal relationships, that also has to do with clashing artistic philosophies and the like. And so there's a great sense of human drama at its heart, at its core, while also being this really absorbing and quite hypnotic and very alluring, mesmerizing, and captivating swirl of a sense of art and dance and philosophy made flesh in the form of the film that is Kalpana. There is a lot here in terms of the robust style and design and designations here, which I think is so worthwhile. It's so rich, it's so full of feeling, and it's so filled with inventive imagination, as well as a sense of the pathos and tragedy or potential of tragedy, and the way in which it also has a sense of purpose or spirit, which is grounded in the human experience as well. So it has that way, and also it winks at the audience. So there are ways in which it's very clever. From the very opening moments of the film and the way it speaks to us, the viewer, it says, yes, this is a film that is also meant to be one that is having fun, and it is in many ways a very playful one, playful film that, in I think a very appealing way, has this way of looking like it's not necessarily taking itself so seriously in some aspects, which I think is another great appeal point of the film. It's a great strength of this film in that it is so welcoming. It is so it's in many ways a type of primer when it comes to the dance philosophy of Shankar, or the performance or the theater philosophy of Shankar on the one hand, but at the same time it is so welcoming, and it's so winking at the audience, and it's almost calling us forth and letting us into its warm embrace, in a manner of speaking, which I really love. And I love that warmth that it has, and it has part of its cinematic embrace. And so it's a film that I think has many facets to it. I think it's a film that might maybe be seen in some circles to be, in many sense, maybe in defiance of quote unquote traditional narrative, but there's nothing wrong with that. And indeed, one can find within it, as I'm trying to suggest here, elements of traditional narrative that work so well, and also elements that might be said to be defying traditional narrative that also work so well as giving us a sense of the celebration of art and performance and theater and dance, which also works so well. In short, everything here works so well, and then some. What a great, great film this is. What a great discovery this is. Again, another great example of why you should get this set as soon as possible if you haven't already. Films like Kalpana are reasons why cinema is so wonderful. It has this way of capturing the essence of the excitement of art. It has this way of capturing the essence of the excitement of the individual spirit. I mean, Shankar, you can tell that his very life and soul is devoted into this film, and so you get that glimpse almost immediately, or indeed immediately, and you get this further appreciation of this as you get into the essay and the supplement. So, all in all, a wonderful, absorbing example of cinema at its finest. This is the work from 1948, and it is the work which is Kalpana. So the Criterion Collection has released this film, Kalpana, again at spine number 1148, once again as part of this great set, which is Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project number 4. And as with the other films, this was a film that is now finding, in many ways, this life in terms of this World Cinema Project cooperation and endeavor and restoration. A word about the restoration. Comments can be found in this great booklet, and specifically about Kalpana, you can find comments starting on page 68 of such booklet, where it says, and I quote, Kalpana is presented in its original aspect ratio of 1.37 to 1. This digital transfer was created in 2K resolution on an Aeroscan film scanner from a 35mm duplicate negative and a 35mm print held at the National Film Archive of India. The original monaural soundtrack was restored from a 35mm optical soundtrack negative, etc. And indeed, the essay by Shai Heredia, which we'll talk about a little bit later, does mention about how this film was not seen for a number of years due to certain rights disputes. But now we have this film not only being made available, but made available in this full glory in terms of the look, feel, and sound and presentation. I have never I don't have a background or experience in terms of watching this film up to this particular release by Criterion, the World Cinema Project release. So I don't have any frame of reference to compare it to. But if I were to speak about my experience watching this presentation, I was totally taken aback, mind blown. My mind was blown by this, and I think it had to do with the fact that the presentation made it so accessible, so absorbing, so encompassing for me, and a lot of it had to do with the spectacle. I mean, this is a film KALPANA, which is about spectacle and the beauty of spectacle and the glory and celebration of that spectacle. And the spectacle, I think, is supported, and it is well preserved, and it is so protected by how this looks and feels, how great this looks and feels in the context of this presentation. So I am, call me impressed. I am very, very impressed with this, and it makes me so excited to be a fan of Criterion for releases like this. And releases like this are great because of the inclusion of films like this and the way they look. KALPANA looks and feels and sounds great in this release. So please, please check it out if you can. Now, that's not all, because like with the other releases in the World Cinema Project sets, this film, KALPANA, has linked with it a number of supplements, and so you can find them as part of the menu. So what are those supplements? First up, as per other releases, we have a great introduction from Mr. Martin Scorsese, and this is described as being from the year 2022. It is approximately 2 minutes, and here we have Martin Scorsese speak about Shankar and the work KALPANA, and how it can be translated into English into many forms, such as the word imagination, how it incorporates this idea of traditional dance form with creative dance or modern dance or new dance techniques, creating a type of revolutionary aspect of the world of dance, or Shankar did, and then this film being maybe an output or expression thereof, etc. So in many ways, also, it is a great creative expression of the cinematic prowess of Shankar and company, now for all the world to see for all eternity, thanks to this great restoration. So this is a wonderful Martin Scorsese introduction, as per usual. And also, as per usual, one can watch it, I think, prior to seeing the film for the first time, because I don't think it goes into too many spoiler details at all, in fact. So it's a great introduction prior to watching the film, or you can watch the film and then return to this introduction and get a sense of the background or context of Shankar and KALPANA, etc. So well done. This is another great, they're all great. The Scorsese introductions are great. Here's yet another example. So here is his introduction to KALPANA. It's approximately 2 minutes. That's not all, because another supplement we have is one which is on KALPANA, and this is featuring Kumar Shahani, filmmaker Kumar Shahani, and historian Suresh Chhabria. And this is described as being from 2022, approximately 23 minutes. And this is really, really great, because we also have featured here some comments from Amala Shankar as well, who is, of course, very crucial in terms of the relationship with Uday Shankar, and also her appearance in the film itself in a very key role, and also her role in the world of dance and performance art and theater in connection with Uday Shankar's life and work and legacy. So this is a great, great supplement overall. I mean, it talks about the history and trajectory of Indian dance and ballet, and in the 1920s, at the beginning of the 20th century, and just how fundamentally revolutionary, important Shankar's work was in the context of dance and ballet and modern dance structures, and this creating a sense of a like hybrid form, a new dance form, and his efforts in trying to establish this dance school, establish the dance philosophy, a dance troupe. Also, this was encouraged by international tours abroad, tours in Europe, tours in the United States, and then his return to India in the 30s. And then this then led to the development of the film itself, and some interesting remarks about how Shankar himself was not necessarily professionally trained when it came to cinema and filmmaking, but still this didn't stop him from creating the great work that is KALPANA. And also the dancers that are featured here, and the way in which this film has a biographical or autobiographical link to it, in terms of the featuring of Uday, and then Uday Shankar, and then Amala Shankar, and others. And then it's not just an expression of the dance philosophy that he really held, but also in the history of dance from the early 20th century, but also links to his own, say, appearance and that of his very close relations. And then also how the film talks about or envelops or deals with elements of tradition and modernity, myth and religion, and the way in which the sets are constructed to way to show the element of the importance of tradition, and also at the same time the way in which this film is, as I was trying to suggest before, a great embodiment of the spirit of the theatrical performance. And that theatrical performance is made flesh in a lot of the dance numbers in Kalpana, or a lot of the performances in Kalpana, as well as how the sets are maneuvered, etc., in this great way. And how to the way in which dance, and sort of a note on the philosophy of dance, how it's in many ways an expression, of course, of physical movement, of art and expression. This word expression is important because it's the idea of self-expression, the spirit of freedom and liberation. Let me say that again. The spirit of freedom and liberation as embodied or personified or captured in the dance essence of the philosophy of Shankar and others. I think this is so important, and the commentaries or the comments that are made in the supplement, I think, highlight this so strongly. How this is in many ways an expression of the individual creative soul, an expression of freedom, an expression of liberation. And in other words, Kalpana is a cinematic expression of individual freedom, which I found to be such a profound way of describing this work. And it shows the true importance of a work like Kalpana, and how liberating it is to see the performances do what it is they do, as well as get that feeling, this rush of exhilaration as one is watching it. It is truly an exhilarating watch indeed. And comments like this, I think, remind us of that feeling of wonderful exhilaration that one gets. And it has to do, I think, linked to the very philosophy, the very soul of Shankar himself, as embodied in this work, Kalpana. So, for these and other reasons, this is a great, great supplement. Another wonderful place to go to get to know more about this work and the life, and more points of exploration and more points of further research, should you be interested. So it's a great place to go. Again, this is the supplement, which is on Kalpana. Again, approximately 23 minutes. Now, like with the other films in the World Cinema Project set, this also has with it an essay, and the essay can be found in this great booklet. We've spoken about this booklet before, and let me say it again. It's really great, and one of the reasons why it's great, it has a great essay. This is Shai Heredia's essay, which is Dreaming the Impossible Dream. And it is another wonderful trajectory and span and discussion of the career of Shankar leading up to the making of Kalpana. So his career as a filmmaker, but also his career as a dancer and a performance artist and a type of artistic philosopher in many ways. And then leading into specific points about the film itself, and the way it has many levels. There's a wonderful way in which the essay makes reference to, or makes a connection with, or parallel with someone like Maya Deren, for example. And that, I think, is a wonderful place, wonderful way of connection. I think other similarities that come to mind is maybe a film like, say, The Red Shoes, Powell and Pressburger, The Red Shoes, that, I mean, has that sense of awe-inspiring spectacle about it. That also has its own character too, which is so brilliant. It's almost this great celebration of dance, art, and life itself. And so I think that spirit is captured and it's discussed so well in this essay. So Dreaming the Impossible Dream, starting on page 56 of the booklet. Please check this out if you can. It's another great essay. They're all great, but this is a really, really great one. My suggestion, as with the other essays, is watch the film first, and then after you see the film, you can read this great essay. Again, Dreaming the Impossible Dream. Please check it out if you can. Another great source of learning and feeling and thinking about this great film, Kalpana. All right, my dear friends. So that's it as far as this discussion on this great film, Kalpana. If you haven't seen it yet, please, please, I beg you, please check it out if you have the opportunity. And perhaps also that might be my way to say in conclusion, because this is the final film that is found in this great set, to watch Kalpana, or one of the ways one can watch Kalpana, as well as one of the ways to watch the other films in this series, Two Girls on the Street, or Sambizanga, or Prisioneiros de la Terra, or Chess of the Wind, or Minamoto. One of the great ways to watch these films is, of course, by getting this great set. And so this is my way, once again, to strongly, strongly suggest and recommend, if you haven't done so already, my dear friends, please check out this set. It is so, so worth it. This is one of the great releases this year, and for good reason. One of those reasons, for many reasons, one of those reasons being the inclusion of this great film, which is Kalpana. All right, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great, great movies, including Kalpana and other films in this wonderful set, Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project #4. But until the next video, please take very good care of yourselves. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.